Man, Larry, you the first one that you the first one that might be the first one that I actually start on time in a very long time. So thank you.
Hey, we we have to set the example, man.
Exactly. You're right. You're right.
That's what I tell people. If you're early, you're on time.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
That ain't
Okay. So
cute.
we live in effect in here.
Yes, indeed.
Yes. Ascension, power. Positivity. You know what I'm saying? All that good stuff for upliftment. And it's another episode of the Polka Dot Rabbit podcast. And like I told y'all previously, Polka Dot Rabbit podcast is going to get just more and more diverse on the subjects,
Mm,
the guests. We're going to keep on, just bringing different people in, different topics. We ain't going to stay in one lane. We're going to go all over the place. You know what I'm saying?
mm.
So don't expect to see same conversations all the time about different things. So that's not going down. Polka Dot Rabbit Podcast, we going down the rabbit hole. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying? On,
yeah.
on, on many different rabbit holes. You feel me? And of course, if you haven't already, please go to polkadatrabbitpodcast.com and go ahead and pick up my book, um, Bicultural Living and Leaving the World of Illusions. And in this book, actually, I
Note to
guess here,
self.
yeah, yeah. In this
Thank
book
you for
here,
that.
my guest here, he was a part of this time frame in some of the parts in the book
Mm,
because I've known the good brother Larry a good while. Um, so Polka Dot Rabbit Podcast, we are here to elevate humanity. But in addition, like I always say, we're here to help awaken the woolly-haired zombies that have fallen asleep, and now we're starting to wake back up
mm.
because of the day and time we're in. Um, so, as y'all know, that's it for me. I'm going to go ahead and let the brother Larry Eaglin, aka Stagga Lee, tell you who he is, what he's done, and all that good stuff. So, go ahead, brother.
Okay. First of all, Yo Brozo, as you're publicly known via this particular podcast series called the Polka Dot Rabbit. Killer Joe is what they call him. Uh, More on that. Those who know. I'm Larry Eaglin, aka Stagga Lee. Actually, Stagga Lee is my on-air moniker for a radio show that I've hosted now for almost 23 years, I think, maybe 24. Um, it's called The Blues Therapy Show and Dance. It's part of the Good Morning Blues program block on WRFG 89.3 FM Atlanta and WRFG.org. As the name of the program implies, it's specifically a blues program. And when I say blues, what's up, Amari? When I say blues, uh, I'm talking about different styles and interpretations of the blues, as well as uh, traditional blues or uh, local blues, regional blues, international blues. Um, because the blues is a lot of things, jazz flavor blues. I even dig into the spirituals. So more so, it's a music excursion uh, dealing with melanated music. Okay, because ultimately it's all melanated music, particularly American popular music.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there again, I'm Larry Eaglin, host of the Blues Therapy Show and Dance, WRG 89.3 FM. Big shout out to Amari. I just saw him pop up, giving us a shout out. He. We go way back as well. He's a musician based in the Atlanta area, who had the pleasure of working with, not only musically but in producing shows. As a matter of fact, he was in a band called Eden Rage, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, yeah. So big up to Amari and big up to you, man, Brozo.
Well, okay.
Yeah, I'm really proud of this, man. And thanks so much for having me on. Third time is a charm. We've tried it 2 times, but it's all in divine order. So here we are. The stars have aligned,
Yeah,
right?
indeed.
The stars
There
have
we go.
aligned. So
All
thanks
right.
again for having me on.
That,
I'm gonna flip it for just a moment.
good.
I'm curious about the name Polka Dot Rabbit.
Okay. Well,
Tell
it was actually
me
just
about
going to
that.
be it actually was going to be more. So initially, the idea came like you know how they always have taboo subjects and
Mhm.
situations where they have, what do they say to that? The elephant in the pink elephant in the room,
The
whatever, you know
elephant
what
in the
I'm
room.
saying? An elephant in the room, you know what I'm saying? But,
Right.
you know, I wanted it to be more symbolic of something that we can all relate to, as far as like the whole going down the rabbit hole with the Alice in the Wonderland, and you know even like the dealing with the rabbit in the Matrix. You know what I mean? But I didn't want to just give it a solid color. You know what I mean? I wanted to have all different colors of the spectrum. You know what I'm saying? Dealing with different people that we might talk about in the podcast, different subject matter. You know what I'm saying? Different energies. You know what I'm saying? And also, if you look at the character, I guess I need to name that character, but just thought about that. But
Yeah.
if you see him, he has an ankh in one hand, or he or it has an ankh in one hand,
Check
and
that
a
out.
mushroom in the other hand. You know, just also dealing, with like going into the psychedelic realm. You know what I'm saying? And really going down the rabbit hole and really seeing what this place is about. You know what I'm saying? Um, I'm and if that's how it all got connected. Because if you look at him, you see the rabbit has his third eye open, but he's meditating. You know what I'm saying? So the rabbit itself is like symbolic of the type of individuals that this podcast can reach. You know what I'm saying? And even the ones that might reach it and start to learn and try to go down the rabbit hole. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty much a synopsis of the polka dot rabbit.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I see a live mascot in your future.
Yeah. Yeah,
Talk
yeah,
about
yeah, yeah,
crashing
yeah.
your show. I'm
Yeah,
just saying.
I can see that. Well, I forgot to give you a heads up. So you might see a mascot anyway, because I got a black cat, Raquel, her name is, and she
Oh,
sometimes loves to jump right in my lap when
okay.
I'm talking. So
Okay.
so yeah, you
So
don't look
if
like a rabbit.
I don't
Yeah,
need to call any first responders, right?
no, 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 no,
Okay.
no.
Okay. Everything is cool.
Well,
Okay. Thanks for
us musicians slash priests, we have to have the black cat around. You already,
that.
y'all
Okay.
metaphysicians know how that is. So,
Mm.
um, so yeah, man. So
Yeah.
first off, here's what I want to ask, man, because I'm gonna tell you something. Larry, like you said, Larry and I go back, man. And if you know me before Atlanta, I did music up in the Virginia area. See, when I moved down to Atlanta in '99, Larry was the first spot. It was the IAG, right?
The IEG acronym for
IAG.
International Artist Guild.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
place was the first place in which I started getting reconnected to music in Atlanta scene.
Yeah.
And, I think at the time, Larry, I think you were running it. So
I was I
Larry,
was uh, I was event coordinator there.
okay.
Yeah.
Larry literally, when I tell y'all literally, he was literally the first person I met when it came to the music in
Mm.
Atlanta. You know what I mean? And he through time we just just talking to him and him just really just kind of schooling me on all the stuff in Atlanta. He uh, Larry was a key individual for the Amol Nines because he was there to help me link up with other people to bring
Right.
them together. He was a key reason of the another atomic band that y'all, if y'all don't know. See, a lot of people might not see this, don't realize that I had two pretty dope black rock bands in Atlanta. And, we did some things relatively speaking. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And Larry, honestly, was one of them. Him and Canito, they were like some of the shout out to Canito. Um, those two individuals were one on one that really put me on my road and journey in Atlanta to start doing music. So I got to give
Mm.
you props in that area. So thank you for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, in service.
Yeah,
To quote the late great Shirley Chisholm, that's the rent we pay to be here, right?
that's it. That's it. That's it.
Hey, that's it.
So
So
yeah,
yeah,
man.
I received that because I'm intentionally a resource.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, on many different things, not just music. You know, and see the thing is,
by default, I guess.
yeah, yeah, I know, right? the thing about Atlanta music scene, it was way different than the Richmond music scene because I was doing rock and hardcore and punk rock in Richmond. But when I came down to Atlanta, the music scene, you had your music scene, but you had different pockets, and it wasn't because Atlanta's so big, it's more spread out. You know what I mean? It wasn't small like Richmond, so it's like it took me a while to get used to, but it was just so diverse and so
Right,
talented.
right.
Atlanta, man, them musicians down there, man, they don't play, man. Everything about Atlanta down there, they don't play, man. I love that. I love that Scott, man. I always love that. Actually, even though I did live in Virginia, because of the time frame I lived in Atlanta, I actually lived in Atlanta the vast majority of my life. Now going
Yeah,
back to do the math, but enough of me. I got some questions for my brother because one of the things always amazes me about Larry is that his his historical knowledge on music on different levels. So I want to kind of start and I want to kind of walk maybe to the blues, to the rock type deal, but
mhm.
could you kind of talk about, how the origins of blues, how it started, you know what I'm saying? All could you give us a school us on a history lesson, of the melanated music, you know what I'm saying, that we started here in America specifically.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what's referred to as the blues is interrelated with gospel music and spirituals or field hollers before that, because it all comes from the experience of uh, black folks in this country,
Mm-hmm.
dating back to the 1600s,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately dating back to the west coast of Africa, particularly the
Mm-hmm.
instruments. The banjo, for
Mm-hmm.
instance, is a West African instrument.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I don't think a lot of people make that correlation. Uh, Probably musicians, particularly white Appalachian musicians, they
Mm-hmm.
know that
They know
history.
it, yeah.
Uh, and you have a lot of African people of African descent living in those same areas as well. But we're not exposed to that now. Um, but so the blues itself, as we know it now, 12-bar blues, dun 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 dun, and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of marketing,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, because in the early part of last century, as far as uh, the listening habits of black people in this country, we listened to everything, like as most people did, really, in this country. But black people in particular, we listen to what's considered country. We listen to, the spirituals. We listen to, the blues. What's considered the blues, jazz, ragtime, etc. And none of that was consciously separated.
Mm-hmm.
You understand, as
Yeah.
far as genres of music.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with the recording of music, uh, the marketing masters, quote unquote, the
Mm-hmm.
marketing masters realized that the African American community was a viable and profitable record buying community,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when the genres became separate.
Ah.
That's when jazz became known as jazz,
Mm.
became known as blues. Uh, uh, Hillbilly music became
Mm.
country and western. Now it's interesting. Hillbilly, what was considered hillbilly music, was offensive to a lot of white folks, as
Mm.
race music was offensive to a lot of black folks.
Mm.
And not so ironically, uh, uh, hillbilly music became country and western the same time as uh, race music became rhythm and blues.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
R&B as we know it now.
Mm.
But this is all marketing.
Yeah.
So again, when we talk about the blues, I have to uh, uh, speak on a broad level. Now, in regards to several styles of music.
Yeah.
Uh, Now, I guess intellectually, the blues, of
Mm.
course, is basically a structure that has influenced all forms of songwriting in American popular music. In other words, when we're writing songs, any songwriter will tell you, you know, what you're thinking about is verse, bridge, chorus. That's a direct descendant of the blues.
Gotcha.
You know, verse, you know, you may do the verse twice, repeat twice, bridge going up, and then this is the chorus. Or as we were calling it, you know, in the golden days of hip hop, you know, late 80s, early 90s, even early 2000s, hook.
The hook, yeah, hook.
The hook, you know. So so yeah, you know, that's I think the blues, I guess intellectually, that's its biggest contribution, you know, to American popular music. A lot of people refer to, you know, when they think of blues, we think of guitars, you know, which is not so accurate. You know, the horns ruled before guitars. The guitars were a part of the rhythm section, next to the bass, next to the drums, keep the rhythm. Whereas the horns were solo instruments,
gotcha.
You know, jump blues and all of that, you know. And then, you know, you had folks like T-Bone Walker and even people before him, you know, come through and just took the guitar to another level, and they became the solo or standout instrument, you know, and that's why the blues is also related so much to guitars now. Yeah. And you know, looking at the title of this particular series of the Polka Dot Rabbit podcast, Melinated Music, I would assume that most people would probably conjure up black rock, the term black rock, which is a misnomer in itself, right?
That's why you don't see it on here, right?
Thank you for that. Yeah, because that's an interesting term, you know, because again, I'll say that all American forms of American popular music are from the black experience in this country. All of it, whether you call it country, western, you know, all of it goes back to, you know, the field hollers and the release, you know, from the struggle or the celebration of overcoming, you know, whatever it may be. But even the term rock and roll is directly out of the black community. You know, it's a metaphor for sex. You know what I'm saying? Rock me, baby, rock me all night long. You know, rock and roll. You know. Now this guy Alan Freed, you know, the Cleveland DJ, he's giving credit for coining the term. You know, and that's just a continuation of the co-opting and the miseducation in regards to the history of popular music in this country, you know, which I take issue with.
Yeah.
Big time. Righteous anger, as we talked off. As we talked off the
righteous anger,
you know, or the air, so to speak. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
So, real quick, because you talked about race music, you know, and unless could you go in a little bit more detail of what, you know, the meaning of race music?
Okay, yeah. It was a way of basically of separating music performed by black people, recorded music performed by black people, early recorded music, because it didn't last for too long before it became, you know, rhythm and blues, and it became integrated as well. But it was basically just it was a form of segregation.
Oh, okay.
You know, basically these were race records, records performed, recorded and performed by black people. Simple as that. Race records, and primarily which had an appeal to black people. Race records, they just separated it. You know, that's interesting, right?
Yeah, it is. You know, because you know, it's real interesting.
Psychosis, you know, is
going
on.
Yeah. Well, you know, the whole mindset back then, man, like everybody.
And even now, though, it's happening now still.
Yeah.
We'll touch on that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's real interesting to me just being a musician, man, and like listening to rock music because like I sit there and this is a perfect example that I think about often. Like when I listen to Jimi Hendrix, right, and I listen to him doing the palm mute, you know what I'm saying? You know, jin, 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 you know what I'm saying? Wow, jin, 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 you know what I'm saying? I hear that and I just watching him, you know, and I'm talking strictly as a musician because you know what he's doing, etc. But you have a album like then, like a song like that, and you hear him palm mute and all this stuff, all the scales and everything, and then you go over, and we talked about this many times before. Just we talked about this. You go over and you listen to Metallica, and it's like, damn, all it is a sped up version of what Jimmy was doing.
Absolutely.
With better, with more advanced amps and stuff. But down to the core, when you break it down, if you just took the Metallica album and slowed it down, it'd be the same thing as blues and Jimmy playing.
Absolutely, all of it. In regards to electric guitar as we know it now, it wouldn't be if it wasn't for Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
Period. And I've known guitarists who I really admired and was kind of offended when they would say, well, no, they didn't get their style from Jimmy. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? You playing amplified blues.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
You wouldn't be doing a manual string bend or tremolo, if it wasn't for Jimmy. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't be even getting close to that amp just to give off the slightest feedback if it wasn't for Jimmy. You know what I'm saying? You wouldn't be sustaining a note the way you sustain it if it wasn't for Jimmy.
Because all your people that influence you got that from Jimmy. So it's just like Jimmy gave birth. Literally, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, whether people are conscious of it or not, and I think some people, most people are, and it's a generational thing, perhaps, but most people are, a lot of folks are unconscious of it,
It's you have to be either really ignorant, stupid, or a couple other words to not be able to make that connection. And be a musician. You know what I mean? It's so many times that I listen to people. I was listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan, for example. It's like Stevie Ray Vaughan was like he was like a Bono version of Jimmy. You know what I'm saying?
And would let it be known. He was an archivist himself.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. And historian. He knew the music and the history of it.
Exactly.
In this country, and in particular the blues.
Yeah.
He was a disciple, a true disciple, as somebody like Carlos Santana is.
Yeah.
Now,
exactly.
But and I just going back, I've always thought Metallica was one of the funkiest bands around. Their riffs.
If you ask me, Metallica.
You touched on Metallica?
Yeah. If you ask me, Metallica is the best heavy metal band probably on this planet ever. I'm talking about heavy metal specifically. You know what I'm saying? They, just as far as like they just have a checklist: longevity, selling out arenas. You know what I'm saying? Musical talent. Because I'm gonna tell you, man, for all of us melanated rockers,
excuse me,
you listen to some of that old Metallica, Ride the Lightning, man, that double bass blaring, man, that bass line, and
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Going back to that,
yeah. You listen to that man. You listen to
Kill 'Em All, Master of Puppets. That was really the last one that I really was into, Master of Puppets.
But it's just a breakdown of it because of the two guitars, and just because James Hetfield was just killing it on rhythm, man.
Yeah. Kirk Hammett is he's another one who's an archivist and knows the history too. He's deep, man. But yeah, and so you had like so many bands of that era, metal bands, whether melanated or not, who were really, 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 to me, funky. Okay, had funky licks, and I had the pleasure. I moved to Atlanta from Houston, Texas, in 1986, right, and was a little underage, but seeing a lot of live shows, particularly at the Metroplex, place down on Marietta Street, I think it was, downtown Atlanta.
Yeah.
This was like ground zero for a lot of punk rock bands, a lot of reggae, bands. Matter of fact, the touring reggae Sunsplash used to come through there. Used to have it outdoors. That was awesome too.
Yeah,
a lot of quote unquote black rock. That was the first time I saw Fishbone live. After being a fan of theirs, for maybe 3-4 years before that. Follow for Now, Bad Brains. Saw them there. Saw bands. I say all that to say, a lot of bands like Metallica that went on to play arenas and stuff. I saw them at the Metroplex.
Yeah, I saw them small.
Like Megadeth, like Chili Peppers. I mean, I saw all of them at the Metroplex. It was off the chain.
I bet you it was, man.
Chain. And you had a lot of these bands sharing bills, But that was a great time. And in regards to black rock, excuse me, in regards to black rock these days, I think a lot of people who consider black rock have their own taste.
Yeah.
Me, I'm not interested in black folks playing the same thing. If I'm listening to it, I can't differentiate if this is black, or white.
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. I got to have some funk. I got to have some soul.
Man.
I got to have some. Damn. Like Fishbone is the best example I can get.
I agree. I'm about to say that, man. Man, I'm gonna tell you something. When I heard the reality of my
and appropriately, you wearing that shirt.
Man, I love my boys, man. Angelo, Norwood, all them cats. Shout out to all y'all. You know what I'm saying? If y'all watching or eventually watch it, it's your boys over in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying?
Right on.
I think we opened for Fishbone a couple times, actually, and Bad Brains. Yeah.
In Richmond?
In Atlanta. No, in Atlanta.
Okay, wow.
The Masquerade.
You know what? I do. I remember. Was that the Masquerade?
It was the Masquerade. Yeah.
I remember. Yeah.
Bad Brains. We opened. I think it was Atomic. We opened in Heaven, and Fishbone. We played. I think it was a Moonlight in Hell.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just what I was saying, I'm gonna tell you, when I heard the reality of my surroundings, just as a musician and as a young man, I was like, this is the blackest album I've ever heard in my life when it came to that. Because you got the songs like Housework, and it sounds like Pressure. It sounds like it all sound like gospel music. And then you got, and then you go to songs that just sound straight punk. You know what I'm saying? Still to this day, if I want to feel good, if I might have a bad day, I could put on the reality of my surroundings and just go to that place, man.
The Black Experience.
That is easily one of the best albums I've ever heard in my life, still to this day.
Yeah. That was like, to me, that's like equatable with listening to a Funkadelic album.
Yeah.
In the early 70s.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah.
The same thing, But a lot of people, well, of course, white radio didn't want to touch it back then because it, because it stank too much. You know what I'm saying?
I got a question about that. I don't, I always like a good conspiracy, so to speak, right?
Okay.
Even with Bad Brains, you know what I mean? Because I know for a fact, saying, out of Earl's mouth, you know what I'm saying? They were look, I gotta show this. Look who's jumping up. who's jumping up in the chat. Good old Billy.
Right on, yeah.
Billy, we talking about falling from now for you, sir. So you in this group too.
Yeah.
Peace, Billy. Peace. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So you know, so what was I talking about? What was
You were talking. I think maybe you were alluding to about to allude to Funkadelic, maybe. No, Bad Brains. You were saying you were talking.
Oh yeah, well, about the conspiracy. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because Fishbone, they talked some real talk stuff too as well. You know what I'm saying? And Fishbone was at the time in which a lot of that when they started, the Woodstock era, when the '90s when they started doing those, like Woodstock, meaning, the big Woodstock, like when late '90s or was it mid '90s when they were doing the Woodstock concerts, they brought it back. All in that area, all that whole area.
Okay,
and
yeah.
Fishbone, they were getting pushed hard. They were talking that talk. They were doing that thing. You could see them all over the place. But then, even at the same time, like when Gangster Rap started to come in and all the conscious hip hop started going out the window because that infamous meeting that Professor Griff and other people, talked about when they wanted to go ahead and change the music industry. Start weaponizing it. You know what I'm saying? My question is like, did the plug get pulled on Fishbone for getting to the next level because of the stances, the stuff they were talking about, even going to the point of what you were just saying about how funky they were, like how, you know what I'm saying? I'm wondering if that didn't happen to them, you know what I'm saying, or even to the Bad Brains, you know what I'm saying? I'm wondering if, like, the powers that be, so to speak, were like, nah, we can't have these niggas doing this.
Well, I don't even think it's that deep in regards to maybe the subject matter. I think that may play into it, but ultimately, I think it's the raw talent. It always has been the raw talent
that can't be duplicated by nobody else.
Exactly. Okay, you got the Chili Peppers, and then you got this.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Come on.
And
this is the real deal. So, and this goes back. For decades.
Yeah.
Decades. Okay, check this out. There's a book, Preston Lauterbach, out of Memphis, Tennessee. It's called The Chitlin Circuit and the Road to Rock and Roll. And basically, it's about the Chitlin Circuit was a circuit or network of promoters and venues, black promoters and venues, who were booking shows throughout the South, the Midwest, up and down the East Coast. Okay, and doing great business. And this is like circa late 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even maybe late 50s, early 60s. Integration happened. All of that was jacked. That is the template.
Yeah.
That is the template for tours ever since.
Britney Spears, that's a template for Justin Timberlake.
Even on up to now, the package tours and all of that.
Yeah.
That is the template. It comes from the Chitlin Circuit. But when we integrated, they co-opted our ish, and we have what we have here. Therefore, bands like Fishbone will receive second billing. I remember seeing them when they could right on, Billy. But I remember seeing Fishbone come to like the Roxy a few times in the early 2000s, and we're opening up for bands. And I'm like, wow, these are, to me, they're legendary. They doing opening up for these half-ass white ska bands. Watered down ska, whatever they were doing. I'm like, so it's interesting, but that's one of a million stories when it comes to black acts. Funkadelic was treated the same way, in the early 70s. You can go on back, man. I mean, of course, Elvis is a prime example of that. Why would you not go uh, to the source, as opposed to just propping up this watered down imitation. It's still happening today.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And again, um, part of it is some type of psychosis. But
Yeah.
getting back to my point, you have the Live Nations, who, of course, they're one of the last bastions of the
Yeah.
co-option of the Chitlin circuit. And so their network, if you ain't in,
Yeah.
if you ain't got no way in, or perhaps the right shade of skin,
Yeah.
you're getting crumbs. You
I'm
know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna tell you, I was personally going back to what we were saying
That's
earlier.
my comment on the conspiracy theory.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
In regards to why certain bands don't get as much, I guess, promotions. I think that was a question behind them that you feel like they deserve. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even like what Billy said, and Billy, I'm sure Billy was, I can only imagine some of the
Man,
pieces,
Follow for Now was a prime example.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure Billy, and Billy, you can chime in too when you hear us talking too, because I can only imagine that Joker right there, he was probably in the belly of the beast and hearing, everything you can possibly imagine about everything. So if anybody has any questions, about that, yeah, just talk to Billy because he was there, literally. You know what I'm saying?
Follow for Now was personally my favorite band ever to come out of Atlanta.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I mean, seriously, that was the Black experience. That was church.
Yeah.
That was church. And it was interesting when you would go to Follow for Now shows, like the Cotton Club when it was down on Peachtree. It would be, predominantly white, but you'd have a black pocket. And a strong representation.
Yeah. Atlanta.
One area, segregation by choice, because we moved a different way, we was all on beat. You know what I'm saying? We was funking with them. So it was a different reaction to the music. And again, black rock for me, I don't want to hear, that's not appealing to me to hear us just basically playing punk rock songs. You know what I'm saying? Or
I agree.
The same way. Because we come from an experience that allows us to bring so many ingredients to the table, man. You know what I'm saying? Which is what Follow for Now did, which is what Fishbone did, which is what Funkadelic did, and the countless and the nameless bands.
Exactly. Well, and I think a good example as far as how something like as generic as punk rock is, and when you take an album like Eye Against Eye, the Bad Brains did, you know what I'm saying, and you're listening to this album, and you're like, this is just supposed to be punk rock. You know what I'm saying? In this album, when you listen to it, it's like, what am I listening to? You know what I'm saying? Like this is way more than punk rock. I mean, it had a punk rock parts and the Jared stuff, but you when was the last time you heard a punk rock band in which the bass player is literally playing like he's playing jazz? You know what I'm saying? like the chords, octaves, all this kind of stuff. And you're listening to, but this ain't no goddamn punk rock. Yeah. This is bad.
Or really roots,
Yeah. I had to say this though, and I'm gonna. That's the last thing I'm gonna say about Fishbone, because I remember after Give a Monkey a Brain stopped, and they right after that, and I think it was right before Chim Chim's Badass Revenge came out. The one Dallas Austin did, which still has one of my favorite songs, Nutmeg, on it. That's the last song on Chim Chim's Badass. That bass line. Do 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 that groove that groove right there, man. I used to listen to that thing over and over, just like, God damn, Norwood. I would go in the zones just listening to that stuff. But I remember right before that real big ska explosion came, like you were talking about earlier. And I was so upset. I was like, yo, these motherfuckers just took everything Fishbone did, the same style exactly.
Yeah.
And now they making millions of dollars.
Right.
Oh,
and hadn't been together for a year.
Yeah, exactly.
Same
style, same riffs.
There it is. And it's all about the marketing.
Yeah.
It's all marketing. It's all marketing. Which is amazing. And like all of these in the early 2000s, I think that's when we started seeing all of the talent shows on TV.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What was the first one? American Idol. They're still doing them. That was very interesting to me because that was basically an extension of that co-opting.
Yeah.
That was a chance for the powers that be to prop up.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Unmelanated people.
Yeah.
And, to a younger generation of melanated people, it's like that's the bar to reach.
Yeah.
And that was so backwards to me. I'm like, why? And they're still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
They're still doing it. It's a few of us that get through, if you can tolerate all of that, but that's it's still happening. In other words, it's still happening. Mm-hmm. It's still happening. And that's that righteous anger again.
Yeah.
So that's always been a platform of mine. I love talking about this. If you want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Hey, man. And I'm in the capacity, as far as what I've done for the last 15 years, doing marketing and promotions for the legendary William Bell, that I know this is an education for me. I thought I'd do the music business.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm working with the man who's still doing it, has been doing it for 60 plus years, first male act signed to Stax Records, he's I remember hearing a recording of him introducing the Barcades at Box Stats, which happened in 1963, and labeled them a black rock band. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. He's seen a lot of movement, and a lot of things he shared with me in hindsight, I see it happening. It's like I'm seeing all of these examples, or he'll point them out, watch, or give me a heads up. Now watch this. This is about to happen. And sure enough, like, wow, that's right on point, But yeah, so a lot of this is confirmed. I mean, these are not opinions. This is what happens in this business of music, man. And it has been happening for decades, going back to the first part of last century, 100 years ago.
Until I got to a certain point of just, maturity, certain point of musical knowledge, musical maturity, spiritual maturity, all that kind of stuff. It was always confusing to me when I would hear bands like the Rolling Stones or the Beatles, and I would always, people would be like, oh, you got to listen to Rolling Stones and the Beatles, and I would listen to them, and it would be like, so, I mean, literally, and still, I mean, not to say that to each its own, but their taste, etc. I'm talking about from a melanated perspective, and I'm listening to this stuff, and I'm just like, this is like non-soulful mimicking of all the stuff that I've heard in the church or anything I've heard coming up throughout my life. I'm like,
terrible interpretations of rhythm and blues.
Yeah, exactly.
Terrible impressions of rhythm and blues.
Yeah.
And I, you know what? And as a kid, I remember I was really confused because I was like, why do people like this?
Yeah, exactly.
It was terrible. To me, it was literally terrible music. And still is when I listen to it. However, because it's been programmed into the mainstream, some of it it touches me in a sentimental way.
Of course.
Because there's some good songwriting in there.
I
get it twisted.
I take the props.
But initially, particularly the Beatles, when they came out, they were doing terrible renditions of rhythm and blues music. Rolling Stones is the same way. But again, you know what that's all about? Marketing.
Yeah. I gotta say one thing though.
Because the listening public are not musicians.
Yeah, exactly.
First of all, you know what I'm saying?
I gotta say this though.
So you can almost, sad to say, you can market anything to them. If you have
Oh
a
yeah,
team, this is how we're gonna roll this out.
the zombies.
You know, the rest, as I say,
It's just
history.
repetition. It's just repetition.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And this is the image, and this is, you know,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it works. You
it
know,
works.
it works.
Yeah, and they know it works. But I gotta
Yeah.
say this. I gotta say this though. That one. There's been a couple of songs I gotta say, specifically Paul McCartney, the one that he did with Michael Jackson. Well, I think "The Girl Is Mine." You know, that Joker was singing his ass off. You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, hey, Paul McCartnney is a hell of a songwriter, and the later Beatles stuff, you know. But like when it came on the scene, Ed Sullivan, all of that, it was terrible stuff.
It was terrible.
It's cute, I guess, and kind of, you know, but and the Rolling Stones, you know, Mick Jagger couldn't and still can't sing his way out of a paper bag.
Good front man, he doesn't have a good voice.
And can't dance to boot. You know, if he's in the black club dancing like that, he's gonna get laughed out of it. Like, what's wrong with him? He's having an epileptic seizure. Call the first responders. But we've come to accept that as the norm. And you got people even who made a song. What's my man out of Memphis? Justin Timberlake, you know, was that him who did the moves like Jagger?
Yeah.
Right. So but it's all marketing. Now, giving him the benefit of the doubt, Mick knows the history.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And for his part, for the Rolling Stones part, they did their part to try and bring the originators of this music, you know, rhythm and the blues, you know, rock and roll,
to here.
To the forefront.
To the forefront.
They tried to do, I guess, whatever they could in their power. And their power was limited. Like they brought out BB King on the road with the Mike and Tina Turner, you know, review. Had Prince open up for him.
Yeah.
You know, at one time. But Mick, he knows the hits. Mick produced the first Living Color.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
You know? Yeah. So he's done his part. He's just, you know, not as talented as as he's been marketed to be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No. That's true, man. I say the you know what I'm saying? I definitely saw that. It was confusing as hell for a while until everything that you just explained, you know, and I got that after a while. And actually, Billy just chimed in too. And Billy, correct me if I'm wrong, if he's still out there. But I was told that Pearl Jam, even though I think actually Pearl Jam's a pretty good band, you know what I'm saying? You know, relatively speaking. But I heard that Pearl Jam was really big on Fall for Now. They were like one of the cats who like took them under their wing. It was like, yo, you know what I'm saying? Just roll, you know what I'm saying? I was told that. I don't know if Billy told me that or somebody else. Maybe Enrique might have told me.
I could see that.
I think Enrique told me, if I'm not mistaken. Enrique actually might have told me that.
I can see that because Fall for Now, I could feel that a lot of bands, although we're in their face showering with them with accolades, were really jealous of them.
Of course,
because they were just that talented, you know. I mean, and just naturally gifted. That was excellence in music. You know,
there was the lead singer of the Strokes. I read an interview, one of the bands in the Strokes. He was just talking about he was
that guy.
Yeah, that guy. I don't know his name, but
I saw him on Killer Mike's show.
Okay. So I read an article of him in one. I don't know if it was Rolling Stone or whatever, but he was out partying sometime. I think he was in LA at some party, and he was drinking and stuff. He was drunk, and he was just said how he just felt so horrible and terrible,
guilty.
Because he was listening to I think Otis Redding sing, and he said in the article, he's like, I know I'll never in my lifetime be able to sound like that man. You know what I'm saying? Guilty. That's probably that's an even better word. You know what I'm saying? Because there's something about this melanated music, and even not to go too far off topic, and we can relate to this, but I remember Bobby Hemmett back in the day. He
Hmm.
said that specifically that um, the music, our music, soul music specifically, was healing black people. They would put on their records, you know what I'm saying, on their
Wow.
Sunday. Okay, my Billy's chiming in, but I'm gonna let him. He said, Billy said,
King's
yeah.
X.
He
Doug
said,
told them about us. Okay.
oh, okay, see, okay, there you go,
Yeah,
there you go.
King's X, my homeboys out of Houston, Texas.
Okay, yeah, yeah, King Jack, that was dope band
Right
too.
on. Thanks for the clarity,
Yeah, thanks, yeah,
Mr.
that's what I
Fields.
said. Thank you, thanks, Billy. Um, and yeah, so damn, what was that? What the hell? I was talking about what were we talking about? I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
They say short term, just say no, Joe. Short
I,
term,
there's a lot, but anyway,
I'm messing with you. I know. No, you were saying talking about Bobby Hemmett and
oh yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
saying
he
that.
would say that the music, um, you know, would be healing us. The music would be, especially the way back then it was records on the, analog, not digital. We put on that record, you know what I'm saying? Listen to, all that black soul music, you know what I'm saying? We might be sick, that music be healing us. And they had to change, once they figured that out, they had to change the whole music industry to get it out of analog so
Hmm,
we could stop.
wow, wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting. Yeah, theory.
He was breaking it down, man. It was a good lecture he had,
But
man.
you talk about healing and we've almost come full circle. The blues,
Yeah, exactly.
as a healing force. It's a sister, a professor. She's a professor. Used to retired professor from Clark, Sandra Foster, aka Sana, who
Mm.
leads a band, the Sana Band. She's a bass player and vocalist. She wrote a book, The Healing Properties of the Blues.
Mm.
Uh, the name of the program that I host, the Blues Therapy Show and Dance. It's all a part of it. It's all therapeutic.
I know her. I know her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Sana.
yeah. I know
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
I
But
didn't even see
it's all therapeutic, man. I mean, we can call it black music. Whew, Lord
I,
have mercy. Mhm.
I think it's kind of interesting. In addition to kind of when even as the root of the blues being the mother, even listen to some like Bob Marley. You know what I'm saying? Even the reggae, because a lot of times, even though they had that the whole reggae
Especially reggae
vibe going
music.
on, yeah, but the lead guitar, you know what I'm saying? He'd be throwing down blues riffs too, even all the other rhythms of reggae and stuff. So with all that influence and it started, man,
Oh
I'm telling
yeah.
you, reggae to me, when I really started as a musician and just as a melanated being,
Hmm.
that music right there, that was, I ain't just talking about smoking weed either. I'm just talking about sober or
It,
not or
it,
high,
it,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, that music right there.
It
I
touched
used,
and moved you.
I used to tell people all the time that reggae music is nature.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Reggae
yeah,
music.
yeah. And no, exactly. Billy's
Reggae, yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Reggae. I was just about to say that. Thank you,
yeah,
Billy,
yeah. It
for the
is,
confirmation on that. It's all interrelated. You
yeah,
know,
yeah, exactly.
it's all. It. Bob even has a song. Wrote a song, "Talking
Talking
Blues."
blues, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
Now you talked about the guitar licks.
Mm-hmm.
Something interesting about the I believe the first Catch a Fire
Catch a
album.
fire. Yep, yep,
Most of the guitar was done in Nashville.
yep. I saw that.
Yeah,
I saw the
and
documentary.
these
Yep.
white guys were actually playing the solos. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and so it was almost like what we would consider now Americana.
Yeah, exactly.
You familiar with the term Americana?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Now, um, Americana now, I guess, I mean, they have to open up because, the talent is so overwhelming, coming from the African American experience and has been in this country, that Americana is like a mixture of gospel, well, roots music, basically,
Yeah, Ruthie.
what's called considered roots music, gospel, the blues, uh, country, elements of country, bluegrass, uh, spirituals. So it's there's a whole new horizon that's opened up, basically.
Yeah, yeah.
And to be quite honest with you, I feel like it's very necessary.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
the last few Americana Music Awards in Nashville, the top winners have been, people of African descent.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Kev Moe, Taj Mahal, Mavis Staples, William Bell.
Yeah.
You know, the Warren Treaty, which is a duo, husband and wife duo. People like that who have been featured, in throughout the Americana Music Association. So all is not lost. All is not lost, and we just have to be mindful and careful these days about the vibrations,
I agree.
that are out there now, because it's interesting, and you mentioned something about, about Brother Bobby Hemmett, talking about the fact that it had to go from analog to digital because it was too powerful, but I'll leave you with this, in regards to vibrations in music. I had the pleasure of playing on the first two Arrested Development, playing guitar, contributing guitar to the first two Arrested Development albums, right? So the first one won a Grammy. Both of them won Grammys, but the first one, I'll never forget, won a Grammy. And right after that was, it was almost like somebody said that will never happen again. Gangster Rap just came.
Yep, we talked about that.
Right? Yep. And it was almost like, and thinking about it, some 30 years later, I'm like, okay, Tennessee was cute, but somebody took another listen.
Yeah, exactly.
Say, whoa, wait a minute, and then start listening to the other tracks and say, wait a minute.
Yeah, we can't have this.
We can't have this again.
I agree 100%.
Why, my Lord, did you enlighten me? Without the enlightenment of all my folks.
Yeah.
Woo. And that's just surface stuff, man. You dig deep into that first album, it's heavy. Same thing with NDRE, same thing with Lauryn Hill.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And that's why, I always see, I used to always would wonder why that happened. But Professor Griff, he went, I think he wrote a couple books on it, you know what I'm saying? Just on how music was weaponized, you know what I'm saying? And I always wondered why that was, but after just listening to some of his lectures, and him breaking it down, and now people coming to the forefront of talking about how they were there at the actual meeting when they said they were going to do exactly what we're talking about. And it's just now it's not even a conspiracy anymore. It's just a fact. You know what I'm saying? A couple of cats are doing, but there was some of the cats from Bones, Thugs, and Harmony. They were going into detail, about that specific meeting. And about how.
And I don't doubt that. But I must say this also: Black radio is to blame.
Yeah.
As well.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And ain't nobody checking them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
Black radio is not the force it was. It's not community involved.
Yeah.
And what I think the turning point, was maybe the late 90s, early 2000s. I remember, during the holiday season, Black radio would be out in the community or have campaigns like in regards to maybe teenage pregnancy or stop the violence. You remember those campaigns? Buy guns back, or turn your guns in, or whatever. And they be talking about this on the radio and follow it up with a song, which is the antithesis of everything that you just ain't nobody said nothing. And so that's a prime example of profit over people and a lack of integrity. In radio, thank you. Black radio is not owned by blacks, right? So
what is?
And the only one now I believe that's black owned is you got Kathy Hughes, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and then you got smaller radio stations, WGNL, owned by not so coincidentally the Hughes family down in Greenwood, Mississippi, and WNPR in Jackson, Mississippi, which is owned by the Evers family. Of Charles Evers, Medgar Evers' brother, was the station manager who I've had the pleasure to meet down there. Up until he passed through transition, I think 2 years ago. But ain't nobody checking that, and Billy just basically pointed out, that black radio is not owned by black folks. Why is that? And why is nobody even bringing that up or checking that?
Yeah,
we should be screaming about that.
I think
and the content.
Yeah. To kind of go to a different direction, and this is kind of like it's a comment / question, you know what I mean, whatever the case may be. But I read a book by Frank Zappa once, right? I can't remember the name of the book right now, but it was one when he talked about how he got hit and his voice lowered, and how he saw who's that guy, the Duke? What's that guy named? That big Duke.
The Duke.
He saw John Wayne in Hollywood, and he was a jerk. And he in that book, Frank Zappa broke down, and I love Frank Zappa. You know what I'm saying? He looked like he could be he's definitely semi-melanated cat, but
he used to room. He used to room with Rick James.
Yeah. In the book, he pretty much broke down how he learned about the music industry in a very early time. Like I think he really just, because he's an intellectual, he was smart.
Yeah.
So after the Mothers of Invention, he was kind of like, he figured out what the music industry was, and he was like, well, I ain't doing this again. And in the book, he said that him and his wife ran everything, the tours. He owned all his masters, promotion. He said that he would work during the day and she would work during the night on that was their business. They ran everything, you know what I'm saying? He knew, everything they did, you know what I'm saying? I always thought it interesting because he was such a musical mind that he knew exactly what type of musicians that he would want for the album he was doing. You know what I'm saying? I always loved that about Zappa, just how much I learned a lot about the music industry by reading his book and learning about him. But I'm gonna move forward to this. The James Brown movie, when Chadwick Boseman was in it, and he has that scene when he has a Jewish lawyer trying to dance. I don't know if you've seen it, but
I've seen the movie a few times. Yeah.
You know the scene I'm talking about, how the Jewish lawyer starts dancing, where he said, how do you think James Brown or Chadwick Boseman like, no, that's no good. He's like, yeah, I make the money and you do the singing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just the point of how the music business, how it's all associated. Now, fast forward, you know what I'm saying, to Prince and Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? And Michael Jackson sitting back like, making these big moves, in which he owns most of Sony. You know what I'm saying? Or Prince making these big time moves because they know the music industry so well and how much leverage they have. You know what I'm saying? Utter geniuses. You know what I'm saying? I still love Prince and Michael Jackson. I think they're the kings of, the kings of rock, as my DMC would say. You know what I'm saying?
Hey.
You know what I'm saying? But it's just interesting, the backstory behind it all this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Otis Redding was another one. You mentioned Otis Redding. He was another one who recognized the power of ownership.
Yeah.
Even the plane that he went down in, because he was a pilot, licensed pilot, on the plane. Another one, Sam Cooke, was another one who recognized the power of ownership.
Yeah.
He was developing artists, like Bobby Womack, when he transitioned, it's something to that. And they all got something in common, but we ain't gonna go down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, right? I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole. I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole. They all got 86. Goddamn it. Let's keep it real. Jimmy, all these cats. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's not even more so dealing with non-melanated cats too. Because I had a post I had on TikTok when I showed um, a portion of the movie, the Doors movie, when Jim Morrison, you know what I'm saying, how big the Doors were at that time.
Right.
Uh, and he was, talking. They was about to start talking. All those people are starting to talk against Vietnam and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And then next thing you know, he's gone. Janis Joplin, she's gone. Jimi Hendrix, he's gone. You know what I'm saying? Bob Marley, he's gone. Frank Zappa, so it is, man. That rabbit hole, man. But it's the same playbook. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
playbook.
And it's but it seems like uh, that enlightenment about what the business is,
Mm-hmm.
and how you can, you know, uh, it's like time, when brothers say when you're doing time, don't let time do you, don't
Yeah,
let the music
yeah.
business do you,
Mm-hmm.
and don't be a victim, I guess just a life lesson in general,
Yeah, exactly. Be a,
be proactive.
yeah, exactly. Just don't be going like, I heard, man, I heard crazy. I heard what's his name? Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins. He was saying when that first big album came out, Siamese Dream, they selling millions and millions of records, right? They the hottest thing on there. They making all this money, and the record company is telling them the exact opposite information that's going on that would make them go better just so they can control them. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I'm just like, what the?
yeah,
You know, it's
yeah.
great. It's devils, man. You know what I'm saying? Them jokers.
Yeah, and you got to keep folks like that in your thoughts and prayers, and and
Yeah,
and
man.
and and keep it moving, though. You know what I mean? And know that uh, I guess in other words, as always, when we're serving our purpose, and this is like on a cosmic level,
Mm-hmm.
I feel when you're serving your purposes in the universe, you're always protected,
Yeah, exactly.
and provided for, regardless to how it seems. So in that, I say, because we brought up a lot of issues, we have to continue to be proactive.
Exactly. I agree.
Don't talk about it, be about it.
Yeah,
Have some integrity. Do
yeah.
right by people.
You're right.
Hell,
Yeah.
it's like a wise man told me, older gentleman told me years ago. That's the secret to a long life. Do right by people,
You're right.
son.
Yeah.
And
It's
it's
true, man.
simple,
Yeah.
And we all have the potential to have bad intentions and be violent and all of that stuff. But what does it get you? We know the results of that.
Exactly. I agree 100%, man.
The universe don't miss a thing.
They sitting there. Look, Tahuti, whoever you want to say, is sitting there writing everything you do down. The good angel, the bad angel, whatever you would say. But they writing all this stuff, and it's going on a big Akashic record database somewhere, and you gonna have to answer for that. It's something else interesting because let's talk. We're kind of talking about today, music today, like the industry today, how much it's changed. Like I read this article, and the band 311, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 311, they just had their last album. Now this isn't recent. This was years ago, but they just finished their last album at Contract, whatever Contract it is, right? So they were going out looking for different labels, right? Now,
Yeah.
granted, everybody in 311, they said when I was reading it, is that they were all made $1 million a year. That's how that they all made $1 million a year. Through sales, merchandise, everything. They all made $1 million a year. So they go to look for new record deals, and I think this was in maybe early 2000. I can't remember the time frame right now, but anyway, they went out to all these different record labels, and to every single record label, they said when I read this article that they offered them 360 deals.
Yeah. Yeah.
311 making $1 million a piece, touring the country, selling out all the shows they do, and you're going to come to these people and ask them for what half of everything. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's interesting because they just were laughing at it, and they ended up going to Dave Matthews Band label.
Okay.
Saying
Yeah.
they went to his label.
Yeah, the independents have more
They went to that label.
power these days. And the thing is, I think the major labels, the 360 thing came out of the fact that the major labels realized that they were not a necessity. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly right.
and so in order to, I guess, allow themselves to remain uh, um, relevant,
Mm-hmm.
that was part of the deal. We're gonna have to get some of that money off the
Yeah,
road and everything. And
everything. When you're
you know,
sleeping, breathing, they need the
it's
bread.
all it's all a hustle, man. It's all a hustle. But you know, in closing, again, we have to just be proactive and be creative, ingenuitive. That is the history of our people.
Yeah.
Okay, be ingenuitive, right intentions,
Mm-hmm.
maintain your integrity, keep on keeping on.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. That's it.
Well, just like Billy was saying earlier, you know what I'm saying, and just like I was talking about, like the James Brown movie,
Mhm.
even some of the movies you see, like Stack Records, all these different movies, you see that on the people that controlling all this behind the scene, you know what I'm saying, um, historically speaking, or just speaking along the lines of the people that run these labels and all this stuff. It seems like a lot of these people don't have integrity. You know what I'm saying? And they don't care. You know what I mean? And all they want to do is just get over on people.
Yeah, yeah, and that's sad, and every that has been revealed. I think more so uh, with the appearance of the C word, COVID, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
In other words, profit over people,
yeah. Oh yeah,
has been the order of the day for so long,
mhm,
and there's a lesson to be learned in all of this.
yeah,
And sadly enough, we're failing miserably
yeah, yeah,
in getting the lesson because we on the other side of this, we're gonna force this to happen. We're gonna make this happen.
yeah, yeah,
Still gonna grind, and we'll never prosper if we don't
nah,
get this lesson.
yeah.
Never, never,
Yeah,
ever.
going on, but still,
Things will never be the same. Swallow the pill.
yeah, yeah. Well, in addition, going to the lines we talked about, the brother Bobby Hemmett and all those teachers back in the '90s that would, all the Dr. Valentine's, the Dr. York, the Bobby Hemmett's, Dr.
Mhm.
Blair, Delta Blair, all these cats, they like laid out what's a blueprint or template, like you said earlier, of the upcoming things, and the mindsets that are behind that. You know what I mean? So to the people that listen, you know what I'm saying, and kind of heed the angel's words, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? We saw this. We didn't know it was gonna come like this, but we saw it, and that we a lot of us, even including me, because I was the whole time when this stuff was going on, Larry. I was looking at this like you ever see that meme when the little black boy looking like a little African kid looking at the white lady? He looking at her like, man, get the hell out of here, I got this whole time, Larry. I'm looking at this thing like, didn't I just see this in the movie Contagion? You know what I'm saying? Didn't I just, what I'm saying, like literally? I'm just like, because you can't trust anything these people put on TV. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying? Nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's all a damn lie. You know what I'm saying? It's like Frank Zappa had this one picture. It was hilarious. It was like a picture, and he had on the top of the stairs. It was like a side view, but there was a toilet bowl right there, right? An extension came down right to the TV. You know what I'm saying? like a post saying that
Right.
the crap is going into the. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
yeah. It's a and that's why we just gotta, like you said, man, we just gotta be proactive. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah.
we gotta be proactive about our everything, our health, our mind self, our spirituality,
Absolutely.
our
Absolutely.
connected to nature, our
How
family.
we treat each other, how we interact, all of that.
You know me, Larry. You know what I'm saying. I'm definitely an optimist. You know what I'm saying.
Yeah, yeah.
When it
Like
comes
like
to that,
me too.
as
Yeah,
you are, I agree, as you are as well. And me just being proactive in other ways, I see a major shift. I've seen a major shift in this world just since I've met you. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? I've seen a major shift in consciousness of people. I feel a different energy. I feel a different sun. You know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
it's something popping. You know, that's going on. You know,
Yeah.
Dr. Delbert Blair, like says that the Earth is graduating from kindergarten to graduate school. They're going from the third dimension to
Hmm.
the fifth dimension. You know,
Hmm.
and I'm just like,
Check
yeah,
that out.
I can rock with that.
Right. And also I think it's we're living in a time where we should probably be still when necessary. Move on spirit,
I agree.
because we've been using that term, which I can't stand, never could stand. Hey, brother, how you doing? How you doing? No, man, I'm out of here on the grind. I'm grinding.
Yeah,
Or I'm busy doing this, but okay, you're busy and you're grinding, but are you productive?
yeah, exactly. Hmm.
You know. Um, so with that said, one moment, one step, one day at a time, man.
Hmm. I
That's
agree.
ultimately what it's about,
Yeah,
because the
yeah,
moment can change everything.
that's it. I'm with it,
Right?
man. Yeah,
What the
yeah.
young kids say, what the kids say these days, fact.
Fact, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Fact, right?
Yeah. You
So,
know,
um,
and another big thing is, man, what do they say in the good book? Be
mm,
of the world. What do they say? Be of the world, but not in it. Is that
mm.
that's a quote, isn't it?
I've heard that. Yeah, yeah,
I might be off by a little bit, but
yeah,
literally, man,
yeah, the idea, yeah,
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 yeah. Don't get
and,
stuck in this mess, man. Just
and yeah, that's interesting because it seems as though I've been doing a lot of that lately. Just
yeah,
kind of
yeah,
just observing and like,
yeah.
wow, I ain't touching that. You know
Exactly,
what I mean? Because
exactly.
I and it's energy basically, it's vibrations, and we know better now.
This this is the time
And
if you are conscious and aware of your history, yourself, and etc. This is um, fourth down, and I'm talking for the individuals that are the negative entities on this planet, or whatever the mind people. This is you got 5 seconds left, right? And it's fourth down on your own 1 yard line. You know what I'm saying? You got to make it 99 yards. So you're throwing a Hail Mary with all this craziness we're seeing because your time is done. It's a wrap. You know what I'm saying? You had your time to do all this craziness, hurt people, murder, kill people, do all this kind of stuff. You do everything you can, to keep doing this because, of a low vibrational mindset and, wanting to just be greedy. You know what I'm saying? It's your day is done, man. You know. It's inevitable as the righteous anger prevails.
right, and yeah. Speaking of which, as we both related to, you're an optimist. I like to say I'm an eternal optimist. However, and that remains true. But I have this righteous anger now. You
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
because it's our own damn fault that we've allowed things to
Hmm.
uh, go to ish like it has,
Yeah, yeah.
and it's almost like we're desensitized,
Oh yeah.
and just
Oh,
and
yeah.
just kind of um, complying without
Yeah.
asking questions. It's like a mob mentality. You know what I
Yeah. Oh
mean?
yeah. 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 Yeah.
I mean, literally the living dead
Yeah.
almost.
Exactly. Zombies. Yeah. In the and I use the analogy all the time of the Matrix, man. The people that just ignorance and bliss and content and just being, just being. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man. We
Hey man,
on our next edition. You know what I'm saying? If you would honor me by having a specific topic that you want to school us on, man. Because we're kind of winging it this time, man. But if you could, if we could really dig deep, because I do see you as a melanated music historian. You know
well,
what I mean?
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. But I would love to build with you again. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll
yeah, yeah,
definitely keep that in mind.
yeah,
And in the
yeah.
meantime, I would love to hear experience the conversations that you have with like Billy Fields, like Amari Adams.
Yeah, Billy. Yeah, I'm actually I'm gonna hit Billy up, man.
Some more
Well, that's
folks,
what I'm saying. That all
that
y'all people out
I
there,
like to
Billy.
refer
And
to you, man.
yeah, bring them on, man. Billy, if you still out there, I mean, I think
Yeah,
I'm sure I still Billy. I still got your number, so I'll
sure.
hit you up. And even
Absolutely.
Finito, all them cats. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
Send them my
Canito,
way,
yeah,
man. I'm sure I got a lot of Enrique, all them cats, man. Send them my way, man.
absolutely,
We
yeah.
gonna we gonna hear we gonna go down the rabbit hole with all this music, melanated music stuff.
Yeah,
We want to
Stony
hear
Taylor.
this stuff.
You know.
Yeah, Stony, yeah, man. The
Yeah.
what's his name? The other brother, Baron.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Brother
saying?
Yomi, man. Brother
Yeah,
Yomi,
man. We all gonna get on here,
sister,
man.
sister Taraji, you know, the mother queen, you
Man,
know.
this is
So
I,
we can go on and on, man.
I specifically. That's why you're the first person on here because this is you specifically gave me an idea to do this, just
Okay.
because of who you are and everything that kind of branched from our connection and out all the things I experienced in Atlanta. Like literally, that's why you're the first person on here. And I'm gonna keep on rolling with it, man. Let's
Well,
get
hey,
Billy on here, man. Woo!
it's been a privilege, my privilege and pleasure, man. And
Yeah,
I'm really proud of you. Good to see you. I'm sorry. Although it's virtually, you know, but that's a fact of life these days, man. But I would love to, you know, be in the same place at some point in the not too distant future and pick up on your energy. Of course, we got to do that. I got to give a shout out to my main man, Frank O.P. Johnson, lifetime pretty much songwriting partner. The Eve of Reality lives. Yeah, Eve of Reality.
Well, definitely next time, I'm in the A all the time, man. So next time I'm down there, I will definitely hit you up. Still, man, even when we were talking about, beforehand, I'm dead ass serious about that. So we will have to, set a time to sit down and talk about that because I'm dead ass.
Yeah, and you know, I'll be up that way too.
Okay, hit me up, man. We'll connect. We'll connect.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah,
Be well, be safe. Love you to life, brother. Keep on keeping on, man.
Brother, you know what I'm saying? Love you so much, man.
Yeah,
Good
man.
brother, man. Y'all, please, y'all want to hear some good music? Listen to Larry's show on WRFG, and just
Wednesdays 8 till 10 a.m. Wednesdays 8 to 10 a.m. Terrestrially is 89.3 FM Atlanta. Worldwide, you can get to streaming. WRFG.org. WRFG.org. If you like to hear podcasts, archive, type in the Blues Therapy Show and Dance. Do a search on that. Several options should come up as well. And we do have an archive page also on the WRFG homepage. Again, that's WRFG.org. All right.
Yeah, just so we have this on here real quick before we go, I'm gonna do this.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna do this real quick so it's on here so the folks can see. Hold on one second.
Okay, you multitasking. Okay.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Oh, right on. There it is. Yeah. The StaggaLeague.podomatic.com. Yeah, that's the main podcast page.
Yeah.
And you can check out podcast there. As a matter of fact, I just uploaded 2 hours worth of music today. So and again, this is these installments are pretty much music excursions, which is my intention. And what we do at the Blues Therapy Show and Dance is exemplify how all of these various forms of American popular music are all interrelated and stem from the music that we know and love, the blues.
Mm-hmm.
So check it out. And
another thing, Larry, we got to get the sisters on there. We got to get the feminine energy on there. So please bring the
that's always inspiring.
Yeah, we got to get the sisters on there to talk too. So since ain't nothing,
I got you. Yeah,
ain't nothing as sexy as a feminine, a sacred feminine rocker. You know what I'm saying?
Well, speak
the divine feminine rocker. Ain't nothing, that's
right on. Like I said, that's inspiring.
Yeah, indeed. You know what I'm saying? But that's it. If you haven't already, please, because like I told you earlier, we some of the stuff that we talked about is in my book. Go to polkadot.rabbitpodcast.com.
Note to self. Again, I got to pick that up, man.
Yeah. And you're gonna see this brother here, and hopefully in the future numerous times, and all of the rest of our whole crew of wonderful musicians and individuals on here. And that is it for me for the Melinated Music edition of the Polka Dot Rabbit podcast. And, please like, follow if you haven't already, me and the brother Larry, what I'm saying? Share this podcast because we want to, we want to spread the word, man. We want our voice to be heard. So, you know, that's it for me. Thank you again, Larry. And we're gonna holler at you next time.
Great job. Great job.
You as well. Appreciate you, brother.
AKA Killer Joe.
That's it.
Be well, man.
All right. Peace, brother.
Peace.